So we woke up this morning to some very exciting and unexpected news, which was an email from Terror Films. And they were like, hey, we're now accepting requests for screeners to Hell House LLC Lineage. And I was like, oh, cool, sweet. Like, they'll send those out in like a month or whatever. I figured I'd just be put on a list. And I was like, yes, please, absolutely. Put me down. And 6 minutes later, literally, I got an email back like, okay, here it is. And I was like, here it is what? And I like clicked on it and it was the film. And I was like, wait, what? And then I wrote her back immediately and was like, does this have an embargo? And she was like, nope. I was like, what? She's like, just make sure you tell everyone that it's going to be exclusively in theaters August 20th. So that's the only requirement I had. And there you go. So Hell House LLC Lineage, we got to see this about 2 months early.
So much earlier than we thought we were going to see it.
Which is so wild. I definitely thought I'd be seeing this, maybe in sometime in August they would send us the screener, but nope, we got it today. We watched it. Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
This is the 5th film in the Hell House LLC franchise, and this, if you don't want to know like plot details, they are currently on IMDb. If you go to IMDb's description, it will say something about the film and characters in it, which is like a spoiler if you want to avoid that type of stuff. And then, because the teaser trailer, which is what Shudder released, because this is going to be a Shudder film, was nothing. It was literally no plot details of any sort. Yeah. So, I think we'll just give our overall thoughts really quick, and then if you want a plot synopsis and how it connects to the other films, then we'll talk about that there. So first thing I think is very, very important to say about this film, of course, is that this is the first film in this franchise that is not found footage style. That is going to turn a lot of people off instantly. Now, Stephen Cognetti, who wrote and directed this as well as the others, he also did a film called 825 Forest Road, which also came out this year, which both you and I loved.
Yeah, we did.
And a lot of people seem to not like. Mm-hmm. And that worries me a tad, because I think that is a superior film to this one. And if people were like, I'm a fan of the Hell House movies, I tried this one and I didn't like it, and they're going to go into this, maybe the connections to Hell House will sell them enough, right? If you're like a big fan of the lore and whatnot, and you're just looking for anything Hell House related, if you're one of those people who've really enjoyed all 4 of the films, then I think you'll like this. But if you're somebody who's like, I really like the first Hell House, the rest are like fine, I'm always waiting for that next movie in the franchise to be like the original, and I didn't like 825 Forest Road, I don't think you're going to like this much at all.
Yeah, I overall enjoyed the film. I think that the lead actress in this is the strongest lead in all of the movies. Personally, I really like her performance. She's also in 825, does a great job in that film as well. But I think she has a really just strong screen presence for the film. And I think that like you'd said, like one of the biggest accomplishments or notable things, aside from the fact that it's not found footage, is the relation to all the other Hell House films. Yeah. I think that there is a really good attention to detail with trying to make things, fit together, and the connections that are being made. Yeah. I appreciate it, and I think that people who are really big fans of all the other films will also appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I also think that, even if, some of the other films are not our favorite, compared to the original, one thing that this director does really well is he does set up scares and atmosphere. I thought that there was a few scenes in this that, are memorable and are, like I said, very atmospheric, very creepy. And I really like that. I like his style of horror. That being said, there is some stuff that I felt was repetitive with the horror. I won't say exactly what, but like there's just a figure that kind of keeps coming up over and over again that basically does the same thing each time, really, which is a little lame. But outside of that, there are other things that are different from it too. So it's not, I won't say that all of the horror is repetitive, but there are parts of it that I was kind of like, okay, we're doing this again.
Yeah, I don't
So
think it's much of a spoiler because I think the teasers, that's pretty much all it is. This has been a common problem with this franchise for me specifically, and I think you as well, that there is an overuse of this clown from the first film that pops up in every one of these movies, and they just use it for the exact same gag every single time. And it's like, I've been over it. I've been over it for a while. It's like, if you're going to continue to keep using this iconic clown, I get it. It's your Michael Myers, it's your Freddy Krueger, it's the like popular iconography from this franchise. I totally understand that. And you want to use it. It's the thing that people recognize. It's the thing that people are looking forward to seeing and whatever. No problem with that. But you've got to figure out a way to incorporate it in a new way.
yeah, the clown looks great. The clown is scary.
It is,
but it is like it does the same thing every single time.
Film.
For people that are like really terrified of clowns, this probably doesn't get old. I love clowns. I love seeing them in horror movies. I'm a big fan of them as like a motif or a trope or whatever. But yeah, I just think that it feels not lazy, but repetitive. Like I've said, it's just like rinse, lather, repeat with this guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be like my kind of biggest criticism as far as like the horror aspect goes for the film, is all the scenes involving the clown.
Yeah, this franchise also, as you would expect, if you have seen the other ones and if you saw A25, these have pretty low budgets and they feel it. I mean, there's definitely amateur qualities to these movies. The filmmaking, the acting, most of the acting in this feels amateur. The dialogue feels very unnatural at times. There's ways that people talk to each other that's very much scripted theatrical dialogue. No one talks like that. And the way that it's being delivered is also being delivered by like a stage actor. Like, like a inexperienced stage actor at times, where you're like, oh, okay, that's not how people, react. That's not how people talk to one another. So there's that as well. So I think that, if you throw this in theaters and you try to make this appeal to a more like general audience, like if a random person who doesn't really know much about the franchise or whatever is like, I'm going to go see this new horror film in theaters. Oh, I think they'd hate this.
I think
they would be like, what is this garbage?
I think that this is the kind of film, like, I mean, you would think anybody that would walk into the fifth film of a franchise would at least watch the other movies. But this one,
no.
For sure, I think, need to have seen the other films.
Absolutely.
I think you will miss out on so much context and you won't understand what's happening or what's going on at all if you just walk into this without having seen all of the other films leading up to it. And so, yeah, for a general, like, random person that's not familiar with the franchise, this isn't going to be something that I think will land with them, because they'll just be so out of the loop as to what's going on. Because this movie does take things in a very larger direction. And I actually like that. I like where, like, things are going. I like that it's kind of expanding. But again, without like having seen any of the other films, you don't really have the payoff of all of that. Like, you don't get to appreciate all the connections and like how things are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So
the audience that this is for are lore hounds of the first four films, people who are really into the bigger story and the connectivity of everything. People who are not opposed to this going the non-found footage route, and people who accepted and were into 825 Forest Road. If you meet those three criteria points there, then I think that this will be for you. You don't have to meet all three, but I think at least 2 of those will suffice for, people who would enjoy this.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who's like, I don't really like the sequels, I don't think that they've ever made a good one since the first one. If you are somebody who's like, I don't care about the lore in this at all. In fact, I think that it's way too convoluted and overdone. I just want the scares. Or if you're somebody who's like, I really didn't like the feel or the look or the acting or any of that in 8254 star. If you're saying any of that stuff, then I don't think this movie is going to be for you at all. So,
yeah.
Overall, I liked it. I think it's fine. Once again, this is the 4th film in a row with this franchise where there's things about it I enjoy. There's things about it I don't enjoy. There's things about it I really don't enjoy. There's things about it I really like. Like, it's kind of a mixed bag all over the place. And I kind of just fall somewhere in the center of like, yeah, okay. It was like another Hell House film. Nothing is ever going to be the first film. Like, it's just not at this point. Like, I think it's just very clear. And here's another thing that's pretty surprising, because we thought that Hell House LLC 3, Lake of Fire, was the conclusion. Then Carmichael Manor Origins came out, and then we were like, okay, this is going to be the end. And then I think it was straight up announced that Hell House LLC Lineage was supposed to be the last. As far as this ending goes, I don't see how this is the last one. But maybe, because it's such an abrupt ending that we were both looked at each other like, it's over? Wait, what? Yeah. Wait, there's got to be more to this. So
yeah, it very much
is the last
feels
movie?
Like it's leaving things open-ended for another film, which is fine. I don't really care. It's just kind of one of those funny things where movies always do this. They're always like, it's the last one, it's the final act, and then it like inevitably like never really ends up being that.
Yeah, but
it is possible this could be it. It's possible this could be the end. But I think when you see the film and you see the ending, you'll know what we're saying. Like, it's just, it doesn't feel like an ending, like the way, it seems.
Sure. But sometimes, with what you're talking about as far as it like being the final chapter, right? Like Friday the 13th or whatever, those have definitive endings.
Sure.
Final Friday, Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter. Jason gets a freaking machete through the head, falls on it, is dead, and then it's kind of teased maybe Tommy's gonna like take over. That's a stinger ending, but it's like, no, that's it. That literally could be the end of the franchise finale. Like, I feel that here.
Yeah.
Not with this movie. With this movie, it ended and I was like, no, that's not the end.
And maybe we're wrong. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it isn't being said that it was the final one.
I thought it.
We could totally be off on that.
They had said that, but regardless.
Yeah, regardless, it's definitely, open for more, which, is fine, because I am not satisfied with the ending. I want more information. I want to know, like, what else is happening and what goes on from here, so...
I felt like the first 3 films concluded very well. Yeah. Like, I don't care for the 3rd film that much. It's probably my least favorite in the franchise. But I felt like that was a definitive conclusion. Like, the way it wrapped up with the gate of hell being opened, and then the original crew are like trapped in the house, and it felt like it came full circle. It felt like it was over. These last 2 films feel like the director just doesn't want to let go of his franchise, and he's like tacking things on. That's the way 4 and 5 have felt for me. They feel like they are like tacked on. They feel like I just want to expand this. I just want to put more things in there, because this film definitely it connects heavily to Hell House 2, 3, and 4. So they do a very good job of connecting this in all of those ways, but it just felt like 3 was it. And the Carmichael Manor just feels like this whole new addition that's unnecessary, but I'm fine with it. I'm just not the problem with this franchise for me is that I don't really care about the lore that much. Like, I try to, but it just feels very forced. It feels convoluted. It doesn't feel natural, or doesn't feel like it fits this story very well. It feels like it's just there to give it some grander feel. And I just, it never works for me exactly. And I wish it did. I wish that, the reveals in this where they connect it to other films and the like, faces and all that stuff that pop up, I'm supposed to be like, oh my God. So yeah, if you are somebody who's like really, really into that stuff and you're like, I love the lore, I'm a lore hound for this franchise, and I think you're gonna love this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This is a lore hound film.
Yeah, I felt the same way about Carmichael Manor, where I was like, I don't really, wasn't vibing with it as much, but I do think that this one, I didn't feel that it was tacked on as much as you do because of the connections to everything else. I think Carmichael is just, because it is such a step outside of, the Abaddon and everything, it's a new location, that it feels, even though there are links, to the other films, it did feel like it's kind of a separate thing to an extent, whereas this one is really drawing the links between all of the films and everything that's happened, and at least like setting the groundwork for, more of the like, red strings to be put up on the board, so to speak. But I guess the other part is that, we haven't seen the the 3 original films in years at this point. So part of it is also just that I don't fully remember everything from all the other films. So sometimes when things come up in this, I'll be like, we were, asking each other, like, is that, like, who is that? And like, what was that again? So, if you've seen them more recently, it'll probably come a lot easier. Or if you're just, really obsessed with them and love the lore and love the films, and just have a better memory for them. But again, it's just been a while since we've seen them. So for me personally, I think there might be things that are also missed out. But that's, that's coming from somebody who has seen all the films. So like we were saying earlier, if you show this to people who haven't seen all the films, like if random people watch this, they're going to be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting 5th film. I'll say that.
Yeah. So for those of you who want to know what this is about, this would be the time to talk about it. So how does this connect to the other films? Our main character for this film is Vanessa, who is kind of the main character of Hell House 3, Lake of Fire, which was cool. Mm-hmm. Cool to see her return and how this story fleshes out, and like she is having visions. She's seeing a therapist over it, and unfortunately, the title I think is pretty obvious at what it's getting at with Lineage. I know I've talked about this on the channel plenty of times at this point, but anytime we get into the lineage thing, I always hate it. It's probably one of my least favorite, if not my least favorite trope in all of writing. I think it is the laziest shit of all time, and it actually makes stories way less interesting. When it gets into like, Luke is Vader's kid, or Michael and Laurie are related, and it's always about the lineage. It's always about the bloodline. It's some curse against the family or whatever, and it's like, that just takes away the interest to me, because then it's just directed specifically at certain people. And what's scary about these things is that it's random, that it can happen to anybody, right? That's the fun of Star Wars, is that Luke is just some random kid on a desert planet that can go out and save the galaxy. And it's like, no, it was always him. He's just related to Darth Vader. That's why it's him. And it's like, oh, that's fucking lame. Like, why? No, I want it to just be some random guy, because that just makes it much more interesting, right? They tried to do the same thing with Rey in The Last Jedi, and everyone freaked out. So they were like, okay, she's a Palpatine. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's so stupid. Let her just be no one, right? And let Laurie just be a babysitter. She doesn't have to be a sister. That is so stupid. That fucked up the Halloween franchise. It all had to be about people who are related to him now. And this same thing here. It's like lineage. We deal so much with that in this film, of like everyone connected to the bloodline of somebody. And it's like, I don't know. That just doesn't make it scary to me. I want to believe that if I go to the Abaddon or the Carmichael or whatever, that I am a target as well. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be, but it becomes the focus, and it's like, they shouldn't go down this road. The whole like lineage plot line in films is just so overdone and so convenient and silly to me. So I don't care for that story at all. That's just me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think it definitely can be kind of lame at times. I don't mind it as much, maybe as you do. Like it is very predictable and very tropey, but you know, with this one, I actually think that like having everybody connected and like the web expanding of the reach of the evil that's taking place, I think that it works with this personally.
I just like that, like, if you
But
step into the Abaddon, you're cursed.
But yeah, I mean,
don't go inside.
Yeah, like just any random person. Yes, like I agree. I think that also is like adds another layer of fear to it. But yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So you'll have some big connections to the previous films. I think every film in this movie is connected to in one way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hell House LLC Lineage. We got the return of a major player from a Hell House film. So this is not just a Carmichael Manor kind of sequel. It very, very much connects to the Abaddon and the first three films as well. Like,
it's both. It connects to both very heavily.
Very heavily.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
But this ain't the last.
No.
I'm calling that right now. This is not the last, unless he just can't get funding for it.
Sure.
But other than that, he intends to make another one. Yeah. I just wish that after seeing 825 Forest Road, I wish you'd take a break from this at least. Just give it a few years, make a couple other films, try your hand at other things. Just take a little hiatus. But some Hell House fans right now are screaming, no make 15 more tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there you go. We got to see Hell House LLC super, super early.
Yes.
So that was very exciting.
Yes, it was.
Even though I'm not like the biggest fan on earth about this franchise, I always look forward to them. I just always hope that they're going to wow me. And outside of the first one, they just never wow me.
No, but we like to support, indie horror too. So, yeah. And we know that there are people that love the films and love the franchise. So this is just our opinion. Of course, make your own when you watch it in theaters in August.
In August.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe watch the other films first to brush up.
For sure.
That's a recommendation. I kind of wish we would have done that, but we wanted to get to this today. And obviously there's 4 other films, so that wasn't on our plate. Yeah. But yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you in the comments and check it out in August.
Yes.
Adios.
Bye.